Okay, so
We're live.
Okay, great. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. We want to thank you for joining us today for our summer virtual SMARCO Subcabinet Public Forum. I'm Wendy Peters, and I serve as the chair of the SMARCO Subcabinet. And I'm very pleased today to be joined by my colleagues across the administration and the agencies that make up the SMARCO Subcabinet. From the Department of Planning, we have Secretary Rob McCord. From the Department of Agriculture, Secretary Joe Bartenfelder. From the Department of Budget and Management, we have from the Office of Capital Budget, Christina Parati. From the Department of Commerce, we have Secretary Kelly Scholes. From the Department of the Environment, the Director of Legislative and Intergovernmental Affairs, Tyler Abbott. From the Department of General Services, Secretary Ellington Churchill. From the Department of Health, we have the Acting Deputy Secretary, Chief Chaudhry. From the Department of Housing and Community Development, we're pleased to be joined by Kevin Baines, the Director of State Revitalization Programs. From the Department of Labor, Assistant Secretary Jim Brakowski. Department of Natural Resources, Assistant Secretary Phil Hager. From the Department of Transportation, Deputy Secretary Earl Lewis. From the Department of Higher Education, or the Higher Education Commission, we have the Financial Policy Analyst, Daniel Schuster. And we're also joined by the Director from the Maryland Energy Administration, Mary Beth Tung, and the Director of the Department of Assessments and Taxation, Michael Higgs. So thank you, colleagues, for joining us. The SMARCO Subcabinet is required by statute to meet twice a year with our county municipal elected officials and planning officials to discuss local government issues relating to activities that affect smart growth, development, neighborhood conservation, and resource management. And I will say that although we're required to do so, we actually enjoy having an opportunity to meet with all of you and to get your feedback about how we can do better in working together. We're all very excited that the state of emergency has been lifted and that we are open for business. I can assure you that our state agencies are open for you and ready to serve you. Part of our focus as a subcabinet has been working together to provide better access to state resources for our local government partners. At our last public forum, we shared information on the resources and tools for our Maryland Strong Roadmap to Recovery. Today, we're going to highlight 4 examples of very successful collaborations and share information about programs that may be helpful to you and your community. Before we get started, there are always a few housekeeping items. I want to be able to orient you with GoToWebinar, and I'm sure by now many of you are familiar with it, but if you have any question, for any of our speakers, you can submit it at any time using the questions tool as shown here on your screen in the control panel located on the right side. After each of our presentations, we'll have a short Q&A session to answer any specific question about the state programs that were just discussed. After all 4 of the presentations, we'll have an open Q&A for county and municipal elected leaders and planning officials with regard to areas of interest. Please submit your questions or comments using the questions tool on the control bar. Thank you very much. We really appreciate you joining us today. And the first thing we're going to do is something a little different because we want to know about you and how we can better help you. We have 2 poll questions that we'd like you to take a look at. Take a look at this map, identify which planning region you're located, and we'll show you a poll listing each of these regions. If you just click on the planning region where you are located, if you have a problem responding to the poll, make sure you're not viewing in full screen. That will help you be able to respond. So take a moment, click where you're located, and Chuck Boyd will summarize the results for us.
Thank you for participating. We're getting the results in just a second. We'll be wrapping it up.
Great.
Okay, the poll results, we have 38 in the central Maryland area, 34% in the Maryland capital area, 14% in Eastern Shore, that's upper and lower, 10% in Southern Maryland, and 3% in Western Maryland.
Great. So now we have one final poll question, and we just want to ask you, which of the following best describes your role when it comes to smart and sustainable growth? Are you an elected official? Are you from the local planning department? A state agency official? Private nonprofit organization? Or are you just somebody in the general public who's very interested in the topic? And again, click the item that refers to you, and Chuck will summarize the results.
We are still collecting response, getting good responses. Okay, we have 37 are in local planning departments and 37 are state agency officials. We have 10% in elected officials, 10% in the private nonprofit organizations, and 7% in the general public. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Chuck, and thank you, everyone, for responding to those poll questions. So now let's start with our presentations. Well, each presentation will have a brief video providing some background, and then we'll have a representative from the lead agency who will review some of the highlights of the project and discuss the resources within their department that are available for communities that you might find relevant to your needs. We start off with the town of Grantsville and the Grantsville Revitalization Organization out in Western Maryland. We will then review the project at the new Shiloh Village Apartments, the town of Betterton, and Eco City Farms. But leading off, the town of Grantsville and the Grantsville Revitalization Organization, and the lead agency, the Maryland Department of Commerce, and our presenter today, Stephen Scarrett Davis, the Interim Executive Director of the Maryland State Arts Council. Welcome, Stephen, and here's our video. Okay. Stephen, Are you there?
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Stephen Scarrett Davis. I am the Interim Executive Director at the Maryland State Arts Council, and I am going to change up my screen. One second.
It looks good, Stephen.
One second. Okay, great. Thanks. Sorry, I am just getting used to GoToWebinar, but thank you all for your patience. I am here to talk to you today about one of the strategies that the Grantsville Revitalization Organization utilized in their revitalization efforts, which is the Arts and Entertainment District designation. It's a designation program through the Department of Commerce and provides a couple of incentives that I will talk about. The program itself was legislated in 2001. It is governed by statute and is, as I said, a program of the Department of Commerce. It is administered by the Maryland State Arts Council. It provides a 10-year designation cycle to municipalities and counties within Maryland that apply for designation for a specific geographic area that they want to see revitalization efforts spurred by arts growth and activity. So the goal of the program is to develop, promote, and support diverse artistic and cultural centers across Maryland. It's interested in preserving a sense of place, but providing those unique local experiences. So focusing on the unique aspects of a local area and capitalizing on those by infusing those with arts and all in the purpose of an economic revitalization and development. The main features of the program are that they make available a local property tax credit. So this is a property tax credit that local municipalities or counties can offer for very specific use for the construction or renovation of properties to be used by arts organizations or arts enterprises, or for artists live workspace. The idea is that that activity attracts artists and arts organizations to an area, and the area benefits from the direct and ancillary economic impacts. It also provides a state income tax subtraction modification for artists. So this provides a way for artists who earn income in the arts and entertainment districts across the state to receive a tax credit and essentially pay no state income tax on the sales of their work within arts and entertainment districts. It also provides for an admissions and amusement tax abatement. So any business subject to the admissions and amusement tax abatement, or excuse me, subject to the admissions and amusement tax within an arts and entertainment district essentially does not have to pay that tax when the district is designated and for the period of the designation. There are currently 29 arts and entertainment districts throughout the state, the most recent being the designation of Catonsville in 2020. These communities, as I'm sure you're all aware, are very diverse communities. We have arts and entertainment districts in very rural areas, in very small communities. We also have them in urban areas and everything in between. To highlight one of those, one end of the spectrum, a very urban district, is the Station North Arts District. It was actually one of the first designated through the Arts and Entertainment Districts program back in 2002. And it's seen increased investment in properties throughout the district, including the renovation of the Center Theater and the Parkway Theater along North Avenue, as well as multiple public art projects, the expansion of the Festival Artscape in Baltimore into the Station North District, as well as the activation of many spaces for arts use throughout the district. And to circle back to Grantsville, where we started today's presentation, Grantsville has been able to leverage their arts and entertainment district to build on events and to build on the activity from the Spruce Forest Artisan Village, as well as the historic Castleman Inn and the Music at Penn Alp series. to really capitalize on arts activity and build economic impact. Since the video that we viewed earlier in 2017, the Garrett County Arts Council has been granted a building along the main corridor of the Grantsville Arts and Entertainment District and is in the process of assembling funds to renovate that into a full-fledged arts center that will be a major draw in the Arts and Entertainment District. In addition, the Spruce Forest Artisan Village is in the process of revitalization and rebuilding after a natural disaster destroyed part of it. So things are on the up and up for Grantsville and for arts and entertainment districts statewide. On the screen now is my contact information. If you have any information, or excuse me, if you have any questions, I'm happy to provide any information about the program. I can also answer any questions right now with any time remaining.
Okay, thank you very much, Stephen. Do we have any questions? It looks like the chat box is empty at the moment, but you have access here to all of the contact information, and Stephen is available should there be any questions after the presentation.
There's also a great deal of information on our website at msac.org. Under programs, you'll see arts and entertainment districts listed right at the top. And there's plenty of information there about the designation process and about the benefits of becoming an arts and entertainment district.
Great, great. Well, thank you for that information and sharing that exciting project. I know that it means a lot to Grantsville, so I appreciate it very much. Okay, we're going to move on to our second state-local collaboration video. I'd like to introduce Kevin Baines, Director of State Revitalization Programs at the Department of Housing and Community Development, who's going to talk about the new Shiloh Village apartments. Welcome, Kevin.
Hello, thank you, Wendy. Hello, Chuck. Is it okay for me to start?
Yes, Kevin, please do.
Okay, great. Thank you. Okay, well, thank you, Wendy, for having me. I just want to start off by saying that is a great example of, as I like to say, it takes a village to build a village. So that's a great example of a potpourri of players coming together in a potpourri of programs to actually build a complex such as that. And I was thinking about the audience today. So I thought one program I should highlight was the one that doesn't necessarily build the affordable housing, but one that helps tee up projects such as affordable housing projects. So today, I want to talk a little bit more about what we call the Strategic Demolition Smart Growth Impact Fund. Since this is a Smart Growth Subcabinet, I thought that would be appropriate.
Great.
So just want to start off by saying, I work with the Division in Neighborhood Revitalization. So we do projects that aren't necessarily only housing. So we work with local governments, whether that be the county government, town, cities, to make them better places to live, work, and shop. So we have about 16 programs. And we actually were looking at our list of tools in our toolbox. And the one thing that we didn't have oftentimes was a program to help get projects started, push them off of the starting pad. So that's when we invented SDF, as we call it. And that was a program that was needed because there were a lot of great projects that just weren't getting started. So we invented this tool to help get projects started, such as the one you just saw on the video. And I should say that we do not just do this everywhere and anywhere. We actually do in the context of sustainable communities. So as Chuck and others on the video know, we work very closely with our partners across the state to do in the context of having a revitalization strategy for our local governments, which we call a good sustainable community plan. And as many of you fine folks know, this is a subset of the priority funding areas that the Department of Planning focus on. And I just, again, would like to thank all of our state partners. We do this not in a fishbowl, but we do it with, the Maryland Historical Trust, Department of Environment, Department of Transportation, Department of Natural Resources, Department of Commerce, and most importantly, Chuck and the other staff at the Department of Planning really help with this process. So we do appreciate that. And not only do we use this fine group of interagency coordination for looking at the sustainable community areas as a launching pad to frame the designations, but we actually also use it as a review for the actual applications for Strategic Demolition Fund applications as well. So we use it both at the micro and macro level. And one thing that I just want to share is that when we're looking at what kind of projects to do, such as the video you saw, I mean, we're basically looking to make sure that we have good partners and that we have good projects that are ready to go, and that they actually, at the end of the day, will make a revitalization impact and bring resources and other, things that are needed, both at the local government as well as the state government. And just to dig into a little bit more about the Strategic Demolition Fund, again, we were trying to do something to help incentivize some of these sites to level the playing field between going to the next forest or farm. So to level the playing field, as I like to say, between the gray fields and the green fields. So that was sort of the genesis of why we invented it, to provide some subsidy to help get them started. And all we fund actually is pre-development expenses. So it can be demolition, it can be acquisition, other site development, public infrastructure to rework the site to make it work for the new use. Also, we can do construction designs. And more importantly, we can even save buildings, because blight elimination does not always have to be demolition. Blight elimination could also be stabilization of existing, particularly historic buildings, to repurpose those. So we can eliminate blight that way as well. So there are other programs that can fund things in terms of building things, rehabbing things, building new. Banks and other folks can do that. But what was missing is this money to get that started. So this is really pre-development money. Okay. And as I mentioned, we work in sustainable communities, but we have opportunity zone opportunities in certain counties, such as Allegheny, Garrett, Somerset, and Wycomico. You can also work in your opportunity zones with this program. And the only two eligible applicants are, in fact, local governments or your community development partners. And those are typically, nonprofit community development corporations that you've identified to work on your behalf. And just a couple of things I want to mention. We do try to do this in older areas that do have an opportunity to perhaps absorb and bring back some additional growth. And again, blight elimination is something we really like to do. And we really use this program in a major way in Baltimore City to eliminate blight. We call it Project Core in Baltimore City, but that's basically behind the curtain. It's this program that funds a lot of our Project Core work. And I'm proud to say we've eliminated over 4,000 units of blight since we started this with Governor Hogan, actually, he made a commitment of $75 million over a 4-year period. And if we keep up the good pace we're at, we hope to hit 5,000 units of blight eliminated within a year or so. So we actually are making much progress in Baltimore. But again, there's a lot of blight in many of our older cities as populations decline. And as Wendy mentioned earlier, before the webinar, a lot of the good work we do is on our main streets. We also run the Main Street program. We have over 30 main streets here in the state. We have affiliates, and we also work with Baltimore City's main streets. So all in all, we do try to do a lot of good historic commercial revitalization along our main street. So much of our work, we do look at Main Street as being a big player and a big partner in some of the work we do, as well as TOD. They mentioned TOD on the prior video. We also try to align our investment with some of the larger investment of MDOT as well. So we do take that in consideration. But I do want to give some project examples, and I was trying to be somewhat diverse with my project examples, both in terms of not only where they are, but even in terms of different examples of how to reuse some sites. So I did want to start with Baltimore City because ever since the new Shiloh video, we actually have done 2 more projects like that. I went to 2 ribbon cuttings actually last week, ironically. And so we've done similar to the Shiloh example. We have seen 700 East Chase, as you'll see on the screen. We've partnered with Rebuild Metro on the corner of Green Mountain Chase and Johnson Square neighborhood. We pieced together 37 parcels. Some were vacant, some we had raised buildings, but we pieced together 37 parcels and helped finance, as you can see, 60-unit, a brand new affordable housing complex in that neighborhood, which was it's a very great project. If you have a chance to stop and visit, I highly recommend it. As you can see, the ribbon is dangling there from the pole, so just hot off the press. Another one that I want to mention on the west side, that was on the east side of Baltimore City. On the west side of Baltimore City is Marshall Gardens. This one was more time. It took a little bit more time to do this because this wasn't just parcels. This was actually blocks of assembling vacant parcels and homes that we had to raise. And so at the end of the day, we're getting 60 new townhomes and 27 rental complexes, you can see in front of you. And this is in the Upton neighborhood. And the reason they're named it Marshall Gardens, Thurgood Marshall grew up a block from here. So this is the neighborhood he grew up in. So in honor of, they named the Marshall Gardens in honor of him. So if you get a chance, again, we had this ribbon cutting last week also. So it's quite a transformative experience if you were there 10 years ago. And I'm just going to switch gears to another part of the state and talk about a different type of project. In Cambridge, we're working with an old African-American high school in what we call it Maces Lane is the name of the high school. And frankly, it was in disrepair. And we're working with not only the city, but we're working with a group of citizens, the Maces Lane Community Center, Inc. And we're also going to ultimately work with the Boys and Girls Club and currently working with the Cal Ripken Foundation to renovate the old high school, to repurpose it to be a multi-purpose building that's going to include a lot of programming for the kids via the Boys and Girls Club, as other classroom space, a museum of the African-American neighborhood. So we've been working on this for a couple of years now, and we have money budgeted to complete this project within the next 2 years. So this is a very exciting example of how strategic demolition fund is not just raising all the buildings to build something new, but we're working with an existing historic building of sorts that we would like to repurpose for the future and maintain some of that history. Another example of this in Cambridge is the old packing house, which is a huge complex, as you can see, and been vacant for many years. And we're also working with Cross Street Partners, the City of Cambridge, Eastern Shore Land Conservancy, again, not to raise the building, but to stabilize it and put a mixed use of different uses in there that actually, not only is it going to be office use, we, DHCD, may and we plan to move our field office into this particular building. So it will be also our Eastern Shore home, as we have one in Cambridge currently. And Cannery Park is the park that surrounds the building. And that's a grant that we've been working with the city and CDBG Community Block Grant Funds to also have a park that park-like setting. So it will be a very nice setting right there off of Route 50 as you head into Cambridge on the right-hand side. And just to also give another couple examples in Southern Maryland, trying to move around the state a little bit. I think everybody knows about this project now, but I just want to give a shout out. Velocity Centers turned out to be a really good project. That's an example of a vacant warehouse where we did some partial demo and some infrastructure improvement, working with the Charles County Chamber of Commerce Military Alliance, as well as the College of Southern Maryland. And we gave 2 awards. can't build it in a day, and to rework the site. And the Velocity Center has turned out to be a great collaboration between academia, industry, government, working right out in Indian Head, right outside the Naval Center there. And it's if you get a chance to go down there, I would highly recommend taking a look at it. And so successful, building on its success, we are actually doing a like-minded project across the street at the old vacant A&P grocery store. Again, not knocking it down, but repurposing it and stabilizing it, and also doing more to complement the Naval Center and other uses that would be aligned with that type of operation in the Indian Head area. So those are just some examples of how local governments could use SDF to maybe rethink about repurposing sites that might be of use to your local government and your citizens. So I believe with that said, that is my contact information, and I am also available for any questions you may have.
Okay. Chat box looks like we don't have any questions at the moment, but please take information down and feel free to contact me.
All right, thank you, Wendy.
Yeah, appreciate your presentation. Thank you very much. So now we're going to move on to our third state local collaboration video, the town of Betterton. I'd like to introduce Tyler Abbott from the Department of the Environment. Welcome, Tyler, and take it away.
afternoon. This is Jeff Fratwell from Maryland Department of Environment. Can everybody hear me?
Thank you, Jeff. I apologize. I was under the impression that we would have Tyler, but we're glad to have you also.
Oh yeah, no problem. And
Yeah.
Tyler's also here. I'm just doing
Okay,
the
great.
presentation.
Perfect.
Again, my name is Jeff Fretwell. I'm the director of the Water Quality Financing Administration at Maryland Department of the Environment. We're the group that does handles grant and loan funding for local governments for the department. Chuck, can you jump to the next slide? So like the previous two presenters, I'm going to talk about one piece of funding that was highlighted in the video, but obviously there's a number of different funding agencies, state, local, federal involved in these communities helping to make these projects happen. I'm going to talk about the wastewater treatment plant upgrade that was highlighted in the video that the town undertook, was completed recently in 2020. This is in Betterton, and the funding that the department MDE provided was Bay Restoration Fund dollars, grant dollars. The project also had USDA funding associated with it. A lot of the projects that we do, wastewater treatment plant upgrades and some other projects, there's typically a funding split between MDE and other agencies such as USDA or Department of Housing Community Development's Community Development Block Grant Program. And we work closely with those other funding agencies and the local government to figure out what the best funding package is to get projects done. This upgrade was done on a voluntary basis. The state had established the Bay Restoration Fund to upgrade the 67 major wastewater treatment plants to enhance nutrient removal. Those were mandated upgrades for those 67 largest plants. This one was voluntary. Chuck, can you go back? Sorry, I'm kind of not totally following the slide, but so the minors, what we call the minor wastewater plants, those under 500,000 gallons per day, are not required to upgrade to enhance nutrient removal. Any upgrades that are undertaken are on a voluntary basis, such as the upgrade that Betterton undertook. This is a 146,000 gallon per day plant, and it's now capable of achieving ENR levels, which is 3 milligrams per liter total nitrogen and 0.3 milligrams per liter total phosphorus, which is an 83% reduction in total nitrogen and 90% reduction in total phosphorus, which benefits the Sassafras River and the Chesapeake Bay. And the most recent operating report shows this plant is operating even below these levels. It's at 2.4 milligrams per liter total nitrogen and a non-detectable amounts of total phosphorus. So it's doing a great job so far. Can you jump to the next slide, please? So a little bit more about the upgrade. There were some unique challenges at this plant that the engineers worked through. The approved flow for the plant is 146,000 gallons per day due to a large undeveloped area within the town's limits that obviously we want the town to be able to be able to grow within the town limits. But the existing flow at the plant is only 28,000 gallons per day. So the facility really had to be able to handle a large range of flows, which can be difficult for nitrogen removal. I won't get into the engineering part of it, but basically it can be difficult. Engineers solve the problem in a very smart, effective way. And so the plant is able to achieve ENR at the 28,000 gallon per day level, but should be able to continue to achieve even as the town continues to grow. The grant funding that MDE provided is a little under $6 million. USDA provided about $3.5 million. The project started in 2017 and finished in September of 2020. Next slide, please. So now I'm going to talk about the program specifically that provided the funding for the Betterton upgrade. The Bay Restoration Fund, which I'm sure many folks, if not everybody on the call is familiar with, at least on some level. There's a fee assessed on all wastewater users in the state of $60 a year. Septic users also pay a fee, but it goes into a separate account. So the wastewater fund specifically is funded by the wastewater users in the state. at $60 a year. This generates approximately $110 million a year for the fund, and we have existing debt that we issued years ago to upgrade the 67 major plants. So after we pay debt service on that and operation and maintenance grants, which I'll talk about a little bit later, we have about $70 million a year for new projects. The funding uses for this fund are all set in state law. They're in the environment article, including the priority of how the funding is to be used. Initially, the funding, like I said, was used to upgrade the 67 major wastewater plants. Those are plants over 500,000 gallons per day to enhance nutrient removal levels to meet the Chesapeake Bay total maximum daily load, or TMDL, or pollution diet, if you want to keep it simple, which is a court-ordered pollution diet we have to meet by 2025. So the state obviously is doing, like you all know, is doing a lot of different things to get there. And one of the big strategies to meet the TMDL is to upgrade the 67 largest wastewater treatment plants to ENR. In statute, after we fund the upgrades of those plants to ENR, the 67 majors, the next highest priority in statute is minor wastewater treatment plant upgrades, such as Betterton. Those are the wastewater plants under 500,000 gallons per day. After we fund the minor wastewater plants, we also can fund combined sewer overflow and sanitary sewer overflow abatement projects, stormwater control measures, and connect failing septics to BNR, biological nutrient removal, or ENR wastewater treatment plants. Next slide, please. So how we're doing so far, the state has fully upgraded 64, the local governments and the state together fully upgraded 64 wastewater plants, the major wastewater plants. 2 are under construction and 1 is in planning. That's the 67 majors. So we're getting close to 66 out of 67 being finished, with the 1 still in planning. And then minors, we're starting to see a lot of interest. It seems like it's growing every year for minor wastewater upgrades. We have 9 in operation already, 6 under construction, 6 in design, and 10 in planning. So we have 31 plants in various stages of upgrade, and that's out of about a little more than 60 what we call major minor plants. So the plants that are below 500,000 gallons per day, but still probably cost effective to upgrade. So the state on a voluntary basis is making a lot of progress working with local governments to upgrade those minor wastewater treatment plants. Next slide, please. So a few other things I'll just run through quickly. In addition to the Bay Restoration Fund, we do have some other funding sources that local governments utilize to do clean water and drinking water projects. We have 2 loan funds, the Water Quality Revolving Loan Fund and the Drinking Water Revolving Loan Fund. Both of those programs are low interest loans. They range, right now our interest rates are, a standard rate's about 0.8%, so less than 1% interest rate. And for disadvantaged communities, which I'll talk about in a little bit, it's currently 0.4% interest rate, so very low rates. A lot of projects do get co-funding Bay Restoration Fund with Revolving Loan Fund. The Revolving Loan Fund can do all the same types of projects the Bay Restoration Fund can do, plus other projects, so it has more eligible uses. And then the Bay Restoration Fund septics funding, which is the funding that I talked about earlier. It's about $15 million a year for septic system upgrades to best available technology, or to connect failing septic systems to wastewater treatment plants. Next slide, please. A few other programs I'm not going to talk about in detail. I think that everyone that's participating will get a copy of this presentation. I'm happy to share it if not, but we have some other programs that are, may be of interest to local governments. The Comprehensive Flood Management Grant Program. That's a grant program that had been dormant for a number of years. The governor included funding in his budget about 3 years ago to bring the program back, and it's become very popular. And that is really to deal with flooding related issues for local governments. The Water Supply Assistance Grant Program, that is a grant program specifically for drinking water projects. It's a modest program, but it helps make projects affordable for local governments that really need additional assistance for drinking water projects. Supplemental Assistance Program is very similar to the Water Supply Assistance Grant. Again, it's a modest program, but it helps local governments that really need additional grant assistance to make projects affordable. And then the Bay Restoration Fund wastewater treatment plant operation and maintenance grants. This is an annual operating grant that the department provides to all the enhanced nutrient removal wastewater treatment plants. So basically, the state recognizes that these plants are more expensive to run and provide some grant funding on an annual basis to help run those plants. We can use up to 10% of the funds, so about 10 million to 11 million a year for these grants to local governments. We recently updated the program to fully utilize all $11 million. Next slide, please. And this is my last slide. This is just some other important information. Both the loan programs I talked about, the clean water and drinking water loan programs, do receive federal funding. So we receive federal money from EPA. We have to provide a 20% state match. And then that money is loaned out to local governments, and the repayments on the loans then are recycled back into the fund to make additional loans. And it's required to be, the fund's required to be operated in perpetuity. So thus the name revolving loan fund. We have an annual application process for all of our funding that runs from December 1st to January 31st. We have an interested parties list. If you're not on that list, please contact me. We'll make sure you're added. But that's the 2-month window where all the local governments can apply for any of these funding sources that I talked about during my presentation. We have 2 scoring systems that we use. One's for clean water, one's for drinking water. They're up on our website. I included hyperlinks for you to look at. You can see what type of attributes we look for in projects to decide how to allocate funding that we have. We can fund approximately a little more than 200 million a year in clean water projects and 40 million a year in drinking water projects. We do receive significantly more applications for funding than we have funding available. So it is important in applying for funding to look at those scoring systems and make sure you're kind of applying in a way that you're giving yourself all the credit that your project should receive. And then last but not least, disadvantaged community status qualifies a local government for a lower interest rate, currently 0.4% instead of 8.8%. Partial principal forgiveness, the lesser of 50% or $1.5 million. Additional grant funding, some of the other grant programs I talked about, you need to be a disadvantaged community to be eligible for. Longer loan terms if the useful life allows. And the designation is based on one of 4 things. You don't have to meet all 4 of these, but one of the 4: median household income less than 70% of statewide median household income, county unemployment in the upper 33% statewide, population decline since the last census, and your project located in or benefits a Maryland Environmental Benefits District. And that hyperlink includes the current list of disadvantaged communities, which we update on an annual basis. And the last slide is my contact information and the website for the Water Quality Financing Administration. And I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Jeff. Appreciate the information. We've checked the chat box, and so far there are no questions. So the presentations must be so informative that there are no questions following them. Again, there's Jeff's contact information. And at this point, we'll move on to our 4th and final state collaboration video. And we have Karen from the Department of Agriculture.
Thank you, Special Secretary Peters. It's a pleasure to be here today to speak about the Maryland Specialty Crop Block Grant Program and local foods.
Thank you.
So just a little bit about the Maryland Specialty Crop Block Grant. It is a competitive block grant program that the Maryland Department of Agriculture administers to enhance the specialty crop industry. The amount of funds vary per year. It's a formula-based funding, which looks at the specialty crop acreage and cash receipts of specialty crop. Now, one may ask, what is a specialty crop? And those are your local foods, such as fruits, vegetables, tree nuts, maple syrup, and honey, but also includes Christmas trees, floriculture, and horticulture. Horticulture is the #1 specialty crop in Maryland. The amount of grant varies per year. It's usually between $400,000 and $500,000 available in competitive grants per year. Eco City Farms had applied for and received a $44,000 specialty crop block grant. The Eco City Farms is a nonprofit, and they were able to leverage their funding through their partnerships that they have in the area. The purpose of the grant was to develop effective microgreens operation that can be replicated to other small scale farms. Why microgreens is because microgreens is a high value crop, and when you're looking at these smaller scale farms, they need to be cost effective and economically efficient. So the small scale farms are able to grow microgreens and then sell them to the restaurants and distributors. And as a result of the grant, they were able to train 10 small scale farmers, and then they were able to grow their microgreens, and then they also developed guidelines for growing microgreens. Speaking of local food, I'm happy Governor Hogan announced that this week, from July 17th to July 25th, is Maryland Buy Local Week. So this is a way to celebrate Maryland food, farms, and watermen. And what we want to do is just bring the awareness through Maryland Buy Local Week that Maryland is an agricultural state and we have locally grown products throughout the state. I appreciate what Grantsville did because they had High Country Creamery there, and I know that is a very popular, High Country Creamery in Grantsville is very popular. And we're also encouraging people to take the Buy Local Challenge and to incorporate at least one locally grown product or harvested product in your meals per day. July is an absolute best time to take advantage of the local fruits and vegetables, especially crops that are available in our area. From local peaches and sweet corns to melons and greens, they're all coming from Maryland farms. You can find these at the farmers markets. We have over 100 farmers markets in Maryland, which is an economic base in some communities, and also farm stands, and then also local grocery stores. You can find a lot of, we work diligently with the local grocery store chains to get Maryland farm products into the stores. Also, what we have this week is that you'll see is recipe videos. If you're always wondering how to make a certain recipe, you can find those recipes on marylandsbest.net, and you might recognize some of those chefs that we'll have on the videos, such as our First Lady. She makes a great rockfish fish cake that you'll be able to see if you go to marylandsbest.net. One of the new programs the department has is the Certified Local Farm Enterprise Program. This is as a result of the passage of HB 1488 and Senate Bill 895, in which they're encouraging state agencies and also public universities to achieve a goal of purchasing 20% of their food from certified local farms. What is a certified local farm? It is a farm that has a nutrient management plan with the Maryland Department of Agriculture. Again, the whole premise is if you're buying from our local farms, our farmers can stay on their land. There's a directory of certified local farm enterprises currently on the MDA, on Maryland Department of Agriculture's website. Marbitco, which is a quasi-public economic development organization, is also currently conducting a survey to identify possible food aggregation sites for local producers. I've asked John if you could put that survey, thank you, in the chat box. I would encourage the audience to participate in the survey, because what they're looking for are possible, as I said, possible aggregation sites that could have cold storage or the ability to install cold storage and have access, allowing large trucks. Because what we're finding is, like, we want a combination of places for the local producers to be able to aggregate their products, and then they're able to sell to the state institutions. And who doesn't want ice cream on a hot summer day like today? The Maryland's Best Ice Cream Trail features 10 on-farm creameries across the state that sell their ice cream directly to consumers. And this trail is more than 290 miles long, from the western part of the state to the eastern shore. Again, what we're trying to do with these promotions and campaigns is to raise the awareness of the local public and the consumers that Maryland has ag tourism sites, and we have local farms. And if you want the best fresh local product, locally grown product, is to go out to the farms. People will also have a chance to become a Maryland's Best Ice Cream Blazer from now until September 30th. And that promotion campaign is we're encouraging the local consumer is to go to these ice cream trail, to go to the creameries on the ice cream trail and take a selfie, and then to post it on social media. Again, it's just one more way of raising the awareness of Maryland. Maryland is open, and we do have local farms with great local products available. And that is my contact information. Again, if you feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions.
So thank you very much, Karen. Right now, we don't have any questions in the chat box, but I would call everyone's attention to the chat box for the Aggregation Center Pilot Program survey, and also the website, the ag website that talks about the ice cream trail. Appreciate your presentation, and everyone, please be sure that you get Karen's contact information for questions.
Great, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So what you've seen really here are 4 examples of, I think Kevin said it best, it takes a village, right? And it also takes collaboration and partnerships. And as your state partners, we're committed to working together with you to make things happen, whether it's affordable housing, revitalization, repurposing old buildings. Certainly our commitment to the Bay is about really combining environmental stewardship and economic development. And we are and have been open to working with all of our communities, and are pleased with to have you all as our local partners. So thank you for joining us for this part of the presentation. We're going to move in now to the public forum, and this is the statutory forum. It is an opportunity for local government issues relating to activities affecting smart growth, development, neighborhood conservation, resource management, et cetera, et cetera. Or if you just have comments about what you saw today or any other questions. I announced earlier the agencies that are joining us today, and they are all with us today, a representative of each of the agencies of the subcabinet. So we'll take a moment to see if we have any questions for the chat box for any of the members of the Smart Growth subcabinet. Okay. Not a whole lot of typing going on there. Any questions? Are there any members of the SmartGo subcabinet that would like to share comments or have any information that they would like to share?
Secretary Peters, if one of the agencies want to be unmuted, they should just put in the chat that they would like to be unmuted, and then we will you'll recognize them, and then we can identify them and unmute them.
Thank you.
Yeah, we'll use the questions toolbox. The attendees don't have the chat.
Okay. Okay. So it looks like while we have a good audience, we don't seem to have any questions or comments for the SmartGo subcabinet. And we'll just wait another minute or two. Your time is valuable, so we don't want to hold you up forever, but we also, as you know, from the beginning of the administration, we are always available to all of you and look forward to continuing to partner to change Maryland for the better.
Special Secretary Peters, we will, I will send out a follow-up email to all those that have attended today so that they can get a copy of the PowerPoints that include the contact information, as well as in Jeff's case, the links to those other programs. I think Karen also had links as well, so they'll get that. We do have one question.
Okay.
I was wondering if someone could provide an update on Better Maryland plan and how it is being implemented around the state. That's from Patrick.
Sure. Secretary McCord?
Am I unmuted now?
There you go.
You're good.
Here you go. All right, the most important thing at the moment is it's still a resource for everybody. So we still keep getting hits on the website, and we still get referrals from people who want to discuss what they're trying to do in their neighborhood, what they're trying to do in the community. So people are using the other tools we have available on the site, and including the affordable housing tool and the transit station area profile tool. So some of the electronic things we've made available to people are getting hits. The other thing we try to do is make sure that we continue educating people throughout the entire process of the COVID shutdown. We've hosted webinars that have had attendance of probably over 1,500 people at some times. So we're trying to make sure that we make the latest information available to all the local governments, and every community is able to take advantage of that. So it's all part of making sure that we're working as a partner with local government and asking, what do you want to do? And how can we help you do it? So I can ask for any other staff comments on recent projects or something else that if Chuck is aware of something that you can add in here.
Secretary McCord, I think that the other thing the item mentioned is that there is a housing element models and guidelines webpage and resources that is I think an important addition available for folks as well.
Thanks, Chuck. I had it on my list and didn't hit it. Thank you very much. The housing element models and guidelines. That's another thing that's been getting a lot of hits from us. Thank you.
We do have another question, and it says, do you see any new initiatives? This is from Daniel. Do you see any new initiatives coming out of the Biden administration, likely through HUD? And I don't know if Kevin Baines, who is on as a panelist, could maybe address some of those items. And I will, Kevin, I'll unmute you. You need to unmute. You have to unmute yourself, Kevin, if you can unmute yourself.
Okay, yes, I am now unmuted. Okay, yeah, the one thing I would like to mention with that question that we're very hopeful about, and all the details are still being flushed out, but as you know, a powerful tool to build affordable rental housing is LIHTC, low-income housing tax credits, and that's where the developers, access tax credits that come from the feds to DHCD at the state, and And these tax credits are very, very useful to generate capital from the private sector to help generate dollars to help finance some of these affordable housing complexes that we build. And you saw a couple examples of those. So there is a program that is being kicked around now to do something similar for single family housing, because we realize that there are housing needs and there are blighted neighborhoods that also need deep subsidy, because the cost to buy and rehab single family housing is unfortunately, exceeds what it can often sell for. So there's often a delta or a gap between the cost of buying and rehabbing than what the market will bear. So again, like with affordable housing, there needs to be some subsidy to make these projects work. So that's something that's being kicked around the Biden administration now. If they could come up with an affordable housing tax credit, program that the state, would administer similar to the LIHTC program, I think that would be a huge, huge boost for rehabilitation of vacant houses in our state. So that's the one big program I'm looking forward to.
Thank you, Kevin. We have another question from Michelle that says, any updates on potential bringing of a national park to Maryland? And I think that's a DNR question, and we saw Phil Hager was on before, and maybe he can we can unmute him and let Phil try to, if he's available. I think, Phil, you're going to have to unmute yourself at this point, if you can answer that question. Yes, Phil, I think you're getting there. Phil? All right. Well, we'll have to get Michelle. We'll try to get back to you. I'll make a note and try to get you some more information regarding that particular issue at this time. Thank you. And I will touch base with folks at DNR and we'll try to give you an answer back. Thank you, Michelle. Are there any other questions? We're getting a few in here now, so we appreciate it. Special Secretary Peters, I think we've dried out of questions, and so you may want to take over and close it out.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I want to thank all of our presenters, and I want to thank all of my colleagues for joining us today. We all remain committed to work with our local governments and to be your partner. So we're pleased to have all of you in the audience join us today, and we look forward to continuing our work together. You will see in the chat box or the models and guidelines that planning talked about for the housing element, really important information. Also, special thanks to John and to Chuck for making all the magic of unmuting and muting and all of the video. So thanks, everyone. We appreciate your time. We appreciate spending time with you this afternoon, and we look forward to maybe having our second forum in the winter actually in person. So stay tuned for more information, and thank you for your time.